Witte is a former ICC official and external relations advisor to former ICC President Judge Sang-Hyun Song. He joins us live from Brussels. A very warm welcome to you. So it's important to stress that it wasn't simply Donald Trump that issued sanctions on the ICC previously, but under the Biden administration, they were at least threatened. Trump did not launch this assault from nowhere, but he has turned up the heat. I mean, given the US and Israel don't recognise the authority of the ICC, what effect will sanctions actually have, and how soon?
Well, a lot depends on whether the 125 countries that are party to the Rome Statute, which created the ICC, choose to block the worst effects of this action. But if they don't defend the court, this executive order poses an existential threat to the ICC's ability to function, not just in the situation of Palestine, but really in all situations before the court, including Ukraine, Myanmar, Sudan, Afghanistan, and others. Governments and companies may try to support just the Ukraine investigation, for example, but services like banking services or provision of software can be used by the court across situations. And so companies and governments may choose to try to avoid providing those services, or individuals may choose to avoid providing support to the court out of fear of retribution from the US government. This threatens the ICC's ability to hire and retain staff. Again, though, there are actions the member states can take to defend the court, and I think the onus is particularly on the European Union here. And it's good to hear Ursula von der Leyen rhetorically commit to defending the court. But will the Commission issue a blocking statute to nullify the effects of this executive order and the territory of the European Union?
You seem to suggest that if the United States' allies, some of the 125 states that are signatories of the Rome Statute, they recognise the court, do stick their neck out, the likes of the UK, France, Germany, Canada, Japan, the list goes on, that they could find themselves at the receiving end of something nasty from the United States by way of, I don't know, let's guess, sanctions, trade restrictions. I mean, there's no real incentive for ICC signatories to uphold this or to challenge this ruling, is there?
It's a good question, because I think we've seen that Trump is full of bluff and bluster. We saw with the sanctions on Canada and Mexico briefly. But ultimately, the United States needs its allies as much as the allies need the United States. And if they stick together, that's the best way to respond to this bullying tactic. The ICC issue is not the highest priority for the European Union or other U.S. allies like South Korea or Japan, but neither is it the highest priority in the United States. Economic issues are more important for these countries fundamentally. But if you start giving in to the bully on this issue here or there and let him divide you, you become much more susceptible to these tactics. And ultimately, these states, if they allow themselves to get sliced off salami fashion, they're going to be alone in the face of threats on any number of fronts. And so it's really in all of their interests to stand up for what's really at stake here, even larger than international criminal justice and the work of the ICC. But that's a rules-based international order. And that is fundamental for all of them.
There's a pretty big irony to all of this that isn't going to be lost on our viewers. And the irony is that back in July 2023, Joe Biden conceded ICC jurisdiction over Russia by authorising his administration to give the court evidence of Russian abuses. That was, of course, in the case against Vladimir Putin regarding Ukraine. What does that say to you?
Well, I mean, the hypocrisy here is phenomenal. And it's not just the Biden administration, but it was the U.S. Congress that authorized U.S. support for the court's actions on Ukraine. And of course, Russia's relationship to the court is very much like Israel's relationship to the court. It's not a state party, but it is accused of committing crimes on the territory of a state that has accepted the ICC's jurisdiction. So fundamentally, there's no difference in the legal basis for the ICC's actions on Palestine or Ukraine. And the U.S. is trying to say that there's a difference when there is none. And you see some of the staunchest supporters of the ICC action on Ukraine in the United States, like Senator Lindsey Graham, or even Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. They were all happy for the ICC to work on Ukraine. But now that it's about the rights of Palestinians and their rights to justice for atrocities committed on the territory of Palestine, they're singing a very different song. And it's just rank hypocrisy.
Understood. Very clear indeed. Eric Witte, a pleasure to have you on Al Jazeera. Eric Witte, formerly of the ICC.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.